Hi everyone, and welcome to the Good Woo. Today I'm discussing the significance of this comet Neowise as it approaches Earth. So let's break down its name first. Neowise, new wisdom. So new wisdom is going to be coming in for us and the collective consciousness of humanity. Now this particular comet was discovered approaching Earth on March 27th of this year. That is right around the time that the shelter in place began in the United States of America. So there is some significance here, and we'll continue to get into it. This comet, Neowise, has an orbital period around the sun of 6,766 years, so about 6,800 years. It makes its orbit around the sun. It's 3 miles wide. The last time it approached Earth was 4,766 BC. So this is a special occurrence, and it won't happen again for, let's see, I wrote that down somewhere. Wow, well, it won't happen again for another 6,800 years. So the significance of comets is interesting throughout history because they're definitely considered celestial omens. And in particular, they seem to portend the changing of the guards when it comes to kings and rulers. And I've done some research, but you can do your own research and look into this. Like when Halley's Comet came on, there was a change in a very significant leadership. It's just always about some sort of shift of leadership. So what does that portend for us? Well, we then have to look at the history of Neowise, and we can look back because these patterns in the sky of planets and constellations, we have technology where we can look back and see how everything aligned. So when Neowise was first visible, it appeared in the constellation of Auriga, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This constellation depicts a shepherd king protecting two sheep, or two small sheep, which we call kids. It's benevolent, and this constellation, this configuration has a parallel to Jesus and being like the good shepherd. So it's definitely already, Neowise has a connotation with justice for the innocent and leadership coming into power that is all about protecting the weaker. So in many ways in our society, it would be like children and women and those who are vulnerable. Then as it moves through the sky and history, it then went into the constellation of the Lynx. Now, Lynx, if all of you guys are watching these videos, and if you watch Seeking the Sacred Earth videos, then you know that the lynx is a very, very powerful totem when it comes to seeing the truth and penetrating darkness. And it's about hidden information coming to light, and the lynx being able to discern and know and see deeply into everything it perceives. So here, if we combine these two, we have a rising of leadership to protect the innocent. And by the way, in Auriga, in the constellation, the shepherd has like a weapon as he's protecting these sheep. So it's not just protection. It's like if you hurt the innocent, you will also, there's retribution for that. And then when you have Lynx coming into the play, as you mix all of these signs related to Neowise, it's combining this with penetrating the darkness. So protecting the innocent, penetrating the darkness, and revealing deep and hidden secrets and information. Now, as it got closer to the Earth, it transitions into the Big Dipper, which is considered the Great Mother Bear, the constellation of the Mother Bear. And it's particularly near the star Thalitha, which is the paw of the bear. So again, we have this idea of there being some sort of like the mama bear energy, the protective shepherd energy, and retribution for hurting the innocent. It's interesting to note the Big Dipper and this Great Bear constellation are also related to slaves being freed. And slaves were told to follow the Big Dipper until they reached the north. So now we have in this idea of slavery and enslavement being opened up, slaves being freed, a path to freedom, and this great protective mother bear energy. So interesting, because as we combine all of this and we look to how as above, so below, what is happening above us and the planets and the stars are also reflected not only on Earth, right, but within each and every one of us as well. So it's really like a trifecta of influence. We see it in the sky, we see it passing through these constellations, then we see these themes playing out right now, playing out as child trafficking and human trafficking is really being revealed, and from what we're hearing, decimated to a certain degree, but revealed nonetheless, and justice coming into the fore, and perhaps justice with quite a bit of retribution we're going to see. So it's interesting how it parallels, but how does this parallel for the inner standing, for our relationships with ourself, our relationships with these internal parts of ourself? It's interesting that these eclipses that we've been experiencing, particularly the ones on the Cancer Capricorn axis, and I don't want to get into too much astrological jargon, but we've been having a real focus the last 2.5 years, and really longer than that, about how do we parent ourselves, the changing roles of parenting in general. And if you look at what this shelter in place and this shutdown has done, our children have been brought really back into our home, whereas we gave our children to schools and the institutions to take care of. That's really been flipped on its head, where to protect our children from what we're dealing with the pandemic, our children have been inside with their parents, learning with their parents. So there's been a real shift in parenting in general. And also how we take care of ourselves and those innocent parts of ourselves. So I'll link here the inner child meditation, because this really is a time where we can reflect upon our childhood, and with all these planets still in retrograde, and even this new moon that's coming up, which is again in the sign of Cancer, the sign of the mother, the nurturing, the home. How do we relate to our inner child? Because there are many belief systems into the spiritual world that our inner child is actually, that's the seed of our soul. And that when we abandon it, when we forget it, when we ignore it, we're ignoring our soul, which is what connects us to infinite spirit. So Neowise, new wisdom, that seems to be about protecting the innocent. And so we ask, how do we protect our own innocence? Have we lost our innocence? Can we regain it? Can you reflect and connect with your inner child? What did you used to love to do? What did you used to love to eat? You know, I know from raising my son, there is such pleasure in simplicity for him. The smallest bug can hold his attention for an hour as he watches it move and live. A rock from the beach that has a small fossil in it becomes this talisman, this important, treasure to him. It's the simplicity. It also brings me back to, I love the French culture at its core, this idea of the food, how the French relate to food, that Americans, we sort of lose sight of, where the French, it's like a simple apple sliced with a bit of baguette and a, you know, a pat of butter and or a slice of cheese, and the simple things. Perhaps Neowise is, yes, new wisdom, but this is an ancient comet that the last time it was here was 4,766 BC. Perhaps it is wisdom that we're remembering. So it may seem like new wisdom, but it's actually ancient information coming back into the fore, and that's where that links comes in. The hidden information coming back up to be utilized. Because everything has a polarity. There may be some negative information coming up, right? But let's also look at what's the positive of ancient memories coming back into play, and the simplicity of the beauty that this planet gives us. So as we get to experience this beautiful comet in the sky for the rest of July and through the month of August, and you get a chance to see it, I hope you reflect upon, where are you protecting your innocence from yourself? You know, how easy it is to become jaded in this world. How easy it is to feel like, I gotta get this done, I gotta do this, I gotta meet this deadline, I gotta make this money, I gotta do this. And we forget that simple childlike innocence and pleasure that is at the core of each and every one of our beings. So I hope this inspires you to look at the sky and allow the energy to penetrate every layer of your being and inspire you, and see what comes up. Light. We are light, and the light that is coming from these stars and these planets is absorbed into our electromagnetic field. And though it may be subtle, it still affects us. And the cleaner and purer your diet and your behavior, the less subtle it is, the more you can tap in to these kind of celestial events. So check out Neowise and seek that innocence within. And also, like, in your life, there's maybe hidden information coming up, and you may want to go and research ancient knowledge, and there is inspiration that is definitely to be received from this event. So I hope you guys splash into it with gusto. Thank you so much for viewing. Thank you for your subscriptions, your likes, and thank you for your thank you donations. They are so helpful and meaningful. Looking forward to the comments on this video and my research. Many people helped me with this research, and I'll be listing their channels and links below.